Good evening, everybody, wherever you are in the world. Welcome. We had Lauren on the channel about a week ago now. It's hit 125,000 views and still rising.
And I've not been arrested yet.
So we are now going to do a whole series with Lauren, making this Elite Network Exposed Part 2. And if you missed part 1, the link is at the top of the description box. If you're watching on replay, all of Lauren's links are down there as well. Instagram, X, please support her important work. And then we've got Kevin and Annette coming in 50 minutes, folks. So get ready for that one. Now, the big news of the week, of course, was Ghislaine Maxwell's move to the Texas prison. And I've been watching Candace Owens on this. And it looks like Ghislaine is going to get a pardon, folks, or a sentence reduction. She's not going to do that full 20 years, which is something that we predicted on this channel when she first got sentenced. I said she would get Bill Cosby out. And they've even had Bill Cosby's lawyer on saying they could very well use the same technicalities as Bill to get her out. Anyway, many of you are aware, we've done some updates on this in the week, that Maxwell was moved to a cushy, it's called Club Fed for a reason. It's where they put the politicians, the cronies of the government. They've got slaps on the wrist. They've got to do some time. So they put them in a Club Fed, very, very low security. There's a puppy program which he's been banned from. It's actually a college town. And you're not supposed to have a human transporter going to a prison like this with crimes against kids. But the magic wand was waved, and she is now in a college town, folks. So the prisoners at Camp Bryan are not happy that she's there. It's set in a neighborhood of bungalows and craftsman-style homes with well-kept yards and gardens. Mockingbirds, wrens, and sparrows flit in and out of the myrtle trees lining part of the property's outside perimeter. The casual atmosphere shifted when the prisoners noticed heightened security, armed guards checking cars, patrol vehicles circling the perimeter, surveillance cameras affixed to utility poles. And this was the arrival of Ghislaine Maxwell. 91,500 residents of the town, a small city 100 miles northwest of Houston. They are used to high-profile inmates calling the low-key prison camp home, often drawing media attention, and the paps staking out the premises. But the arrival of Maxwell, who's associated with Epstein and the conspiracies, has spurred a whole new level of concern for the locals. Marina Boland, 29, who lives across the highway from the prison, said, "It's scary to think that someone will be motivated to come to Bryan in connection with the controversies linked to Epstein. The wealthy financier who cultivated friendships and relationships with powerful people, from business leaders to presidents. How do you say honey traps?" Boland, who was recently wheeling her 2 young kids in a wagon cart out of Bryan's downtown library, said Maxwell's arrival has made locals hyper-vigilant about who it draws into their town, and in turn, who they speak with. People could be out here to cause harm, Boland said. And Boland said Maxwell's presence is detracting from her town, which beckons visitors with the sign, "Welcome to Aggieland," a reference to Texas A&M University's located in neighboring College Station. Bryan is a beautiful place, and it's kind of upsetting it's known for the prison, said Boland, who originally moved from Chicago. She said she's disgusted by Maxwell's crimes and noted they have placed her in a facility that typically houses non-violent and white-collar criminals. I don't consider what she did a non-violent offense. Other residents are questioning why Maxwell would get moved to this prison camp. The BOP's policy indicates that she should be ineligible to be housed at a minimum security camp because she's a convicted beep offender. A beep offender must be in at least a low-level security prison unless a waiver is granted by the admin of the BOP's Designation and Sentence Computation Center. The BOP are declining to comment on Maxwell and the security procedures put in place at FPC Bryan. The transfer makes me mad, said Roberts, who declined to give his last name but said he owns a home renovation business. Standing attentively by his son while the boy played at a park near FPC Bryan, he said Maxwell's relocation gives the appearance that people who come from power and influence are being treated differently. The punishment does not match her crimes. If it was anyone else, definitely that person would get worse punishments. Another park goer, Ashley, wondered if politics or something else was behind Maxwell's move. It seems like these people that are high profile do get put here, she said while sitting with one of her sons on a bench. It's always surprising to me that our little town is on the map because of our women's prison here. And then you've got the blood lab testing scamster Elizabeth Holmes there. Remember all the billions people put into her company, and she made up this thing that she had this magical test that could tell you everything about you. It was all a cracker. So she's in there for wire fraud. Real Housewives of Salt Lake City star Jen Shah began her sentence of running a telemarketing scheme that targeted elderly victims. And in 2020, Hot Pockets arrests Michelle Genovese served a 5-year month sentence there for her role in a sweeping college admissions scandal. So inmates are provided huge freedoms. They live in a dormitory-style housing with no locked doors. They can mingle in sitting areas between housing units, and they've got a reception yard and a hobby and crafts area. The chain link fence topped with a strand of coiled barbed wire and a section of decorative iron bar fencing surrounds the 37-acre compound, but it is not unheard of for inmates to occasionally walk off the premises before being forced back. It's not a facility where you see guard dogs walking around and a whole bunch of concertina wire, said Bryan Councilman Ray Arrington. It's not like that. It looks like a school. All right, I'm going to stop here because this is a really long
piece. So it's basically Center Parks then. That's where she is, isn't it? She's having a bit of a jolly. It's kind of like, at this point, it's like Prison Break. Do you remember when you watched that series and you thought, I don't know how they're going to get another series out of this? And then it just kept going and getting more obscene. This is what's happening. They're preparing the public for her to come out. Gently, gently. This is what it is.
I really enjoyed season 1 of Prison Break, but then it did get more and more bizarre.
Well, they were very handsome. I continued enjoying it, but it just did get very ridiculous.
What about Teabag?
Which one was that?
The one who lost his arm?
Oh, he wasn't. What was the really good-looking one? That was.
He was the booty bandit.
I was probably not paying attention to the storyline and names as much. But this is what it is. I mean, it's one rule for you, me, and everyone else, and it's a different set of rules for the elites. We have seen it time and time again. So we see the letter from Trump that appears, and then all of a sudden things really start picking up pace with GHISLAINE, and then they're having meetings with her. Then she's moved here, but Trump says he doesn't know about it. That's I just have no words. He knew about it. How could you not? And, you know, Maxwell, what she doesn't have in finances, because obviously her father got into a lot of financial difficulty, you know, her contact book and the stories she has, that you name your price for those. She was never, ever going to do the whole sentence. And I think they have all underestimated this. I thought they could, you know, I think they thought they could keep putting out little fires here, there, and we'd get distracted. And I think actually what's been amazing with this is people have been like a dog with a bone, and quite rightly so, and they have not let it go. And we should never let it go, because when we're looking at how the elites are silencing and silencing victims and survivors, but weaponizing their power, and it's going into the justice system, none of us are safe. You know, it really is those 1%ers. And I I always come from a place of evidence. And, you know, even though I like to go down the rabbit hole at 3 a.m. and everything, but all you have to do is look at this whole case. And I've said it before, if this was a film script or a book, it would be turned down. They would say this is far too, you know, wacky. It just wouldn't get across the line. But here we are, and we're seeing them try to kind of sow this narrative into the public consciousness where, you know, they're going to say she's proved herself and actually she's given us information no one else could give us. Well, I'm sorry, if you didn't give that information that you legally should, you're perverting the course of justice. So give her more time.
Yeah, let me keep going with this then. I'll get your thoughts before we go over to a clip from Candace. So on Thursday night, neighbors noticed a new feature at the prison. A mesh privacy screen was put up along a portion of the fencing, blocking their views. Then on Friday, additional privacy screening was affixed to the fence around the campus, blocking public views of the running path used. Arrington said he had not personally heard from the constituents about Maxwell's arrival, but he believes local law enforcement and prison security will be able to handle any related threats. We don't have any fears, Arrington said. We didn't have any issues in the past week. Residents around Brian say the change in security is a diversion from the norm. They are patrolling for her, not for us, Mark said from his home across the street from the prison, referring to Maxwell. He said it makes sense that she would end up in Texas and in a semi-remote area such as Brian to keep her and the controversy surrounding her hush hush. It makes for whatever agenda they had, whatever they are trying to push, said his partner, Maya. She waved to an inmate who was walking the prison's jogging path. On a recent afternoon, Brian native Angel Castaneda worked with a crew on a driveway and a sidewalk of a home across from the prison camp as armed guards with bulletproof vests and other equipment patrolled around the property. They're 24/7 now, Castaneda said. Cars used to be able to drive up to the prison's entrance and use a scanner to get past a barrier arm, he said, but now drivers are met by guards. Most people have always felt this was safe. It has never really been a problem, Castaneda said at the prison camp. They've always had everything under control. You'll hear of a woman escaping every 2, 3, 5 years. It's random, he said, adding they usually don't make it that far. But Maxwell's arrival at the prison does have the locals concerned, more so given her status as a beep offender than any conspiratorial association. If they have them in custody, it's probably better that way, Castaneda said. So that's the conclusion of that piece. And I'm going to go over to, I mean, you know, Lauren, you talked about podcasters that are like dogs with bones. And, you know, all for credit to Candace about this, because she is just calling the hell out of Trump and everybody for completely backtracking with Maxwell. And I'm going to play a little clip of Trump talking that Candace selected. And there's just one particular sentence I hope the viewers and you, Lauren, notice. And it's a sentence I'm reading into it. He's basically saying he's going to let her go. Where he says it in a cryptic way, but that's what I'm reading into it. But here we go anyway. Let's see what
he's learning with the rest of us. Take a listen.
2 questions for you. One, were you aware of and did you personally approve the prison transfer for GHISLAINE Maxwell that your Justice Department?
I didn't know about it at all. No, I read about it just like you did.
And do you believe that she is?
It's not a very uncommon thing.
Do you believe that she's credible to be listening to? Your Deputy Attorney General sat down with her recently.
Well, let me tell you, he's a very talented man. His name is Todd Blanche. He's a very legitimate person, very high. I just a very highly thought of person, respected by everybody. And I didn't talk to him about it, but I will tell you that whatever he asked would be totally appropriate. And it's not an uncommon thing to do that. And I think he probably wants to make sure that, you know, people that should not be involved or aren't involved are not hurt by something that would be very, very unfortunate, very unfair to a lot of people. But I will say this, Todd Blanche is one of the most highly respected people you'll ever meet. So I know this. I didn't discuss it with him, but anything he talked about with her or the fact that he did that, not unusual, number one, and most importantly is something that would be totally above board.
Totally above board, not unusual. But the best part of that actually is what he says in the middle, and I'm going to quote it here directly. He says, and I think, referring to Todd Blanche, and I think that he probably wants to make sure that people that should not be involved or aren't involved are not hurt by something. That would be very, very unfortunate and very unfair to a lot of people. He keeps saying that. He keeps saying that. Changed to the Epstein files. He's saying, like, you know.
And that is exactly the sentence I am referring to, Lauren.
See,
People who
I
are not
picked up another
involved.
one.
Yep.
So he was asked, is she credible? Like, you know, can we trust what she says? Trump didn't answer the question. He deflected it and started talking about Todd Blanche, which is interesting. A typical, you know, politician's move to actually never tell us what we want to know and answer a bloody question. But it's really hard to take anything that the administration is saying on this seriously. It all seems so uncredible to me because we've got this narrative running in the public that they've run so badly, but behind the scenes, you know, there's a whole different reality, one that we will never, ever know because of the amount of people that are in this grotesque spider web. You know, and moving, him saying he doesn't know she's been moved and he found out through the news. Well, fire someone in your team then, because you should be briefed on this. So either you're lying or someone needs to be fired. You know, you've got the most important job in the world and you're saying your team aren't briefing you on these things. I don't buy that.
Yeah, going over it more slowly then, isolating each of the things that he said.
Yeah.
So the first nonsense was saying that this was just, you know, a completely normal thing to be transferred like that. Let me tell you, I have been in prison. I have seen people request transfers, and the guards have a statement. They either say you've got nothing coming, or they say I'll get right on that, and you never hear from them again. And to get a prison transfer is impossible. Their attitude is this ain't the friggin' Hilton Hotel. You don't just get moved rooms because you don't like your room. You're in here serving a prison sentence. You don't get to decide what prison you go to. You don't get to decide what cell you are in. You don't get to decide what cellmates you have. We tell you what time you wake up. We tell you what time you eat your breakfast. That is the attitude of the prison staff towards prisoners, folks, in America.
Unless you're Ghislaine. She's probably got a super king bed.
You cannot just put in a request to get moved and a magical wand is waved and the next day you're in the lowest security, cushiest prison in the country where you've got your puppy program and your yoga and you can just walk off and on the compound. Absolute crocker for any of these officials to say this is a routine thing. Not only that, it's in the rules for the feds, the Department of Corrections for the feds, that people who are convicted of these heinous crimes cannot even qualify for a prison like Brian. So not only is this extremely unusual, the normal rules of the prison have been moved out of the way so that this path can be made for Maxwell to land at this prison. So all these things that these politicians are saying that this is normal is absolute nonsense. So that's the first thing.
It's also a classic PR move that Trump's done as well. So when he said, oh, it's not uncommon, he's trying to shame and gaslight the journalist. And we see it with politicians all the time here. They try and embarrass them in a public space for questioning the official narrative. And that is a fact. You know, because I have done that as a publicist of 20 years. That is what you do. You know, you try and kind of slap them down and get them to play ball and actually get back in your lane and be quiet. I don't do that now, by the way.
It is so uncommon. You've got prisoners waiting for years who've put requests in to move back to a prison where their family members live, for example. So visitation can be had. And these prisoners have waited so long, 5 years plus. Sometimes these prisoners get so frustrated, they snatch a staff member and hold a staff member hostage for days on end until they draw enough attention to themselves to try and get a transfer agreed to so they can release the hostage. This is how hard it is to get a prison transfer. And if you think I'm making it up, look at the longest hostage crisis in the history of Arizona prisons. It was at Buckeye Prison where 2 lifers who were trying to get a prison transfer held staff members at knife point. They took control of the gun tower. They R-worded a female staff member, and their request was they wanted a prison transfer to go back to the States where they originated from. This is how hard it is to get a prison, folks. So anyway, that's the deconstruction of the first nonsense. The second nonsense, which is what you picked up on, Lauren, was Trump's complete deflection of the question, whereby he was asked this question, and then he just extolled the virtues of his guy. It was like when he was extolling the virtues of bombing Iran. This is the most strategic, brilliant military campaign since Julius Caesar. We've just put these holes in the desert, but we're going to make it out to be this massive thing, and we're just going to deflect from any questions. And we've just seen the exact same thing when he got asked the question, and he completely just said this guy's the best thing, that sliced bread that ever could enter the DOJ. Absolute nonsense. They're all cronies. They're all protecting each other's asses.
And he knows what he's doing as well, because what he's being very clever about is he's not giving media or anyone those quotes to use where he's naming Ghislaine Maxwell. He's completely deflecting it. So it's basically an advert for how great and trustworthy his team are. And that wasn't what the question was about at all. And so, there's a small group of people that know what's going on. We are, in the public, being kept in the dark and constantly lied to about this. He knows the power of him naming her in a quote. He's incredibly media savvy. So that is why he completely deflected on that question. And, it's really toxic, because when you're watching these things as a viewer, you think, I'm going mad. I thought they asked about this, but then the news cycle is so fast, it's rapid, so you just forget. And then this is what I mean about the brainwashing you see from these kind of media figures and elites. This is how it's done. There is no conspiracy about this. This is a fact.
I think Professor Hamamoto's in the chat, and I think we need to get you back on in one of these episodes, Professor. But the sentence that meant the most to me, and I'm going to play it again, folks, just Candice reiterating it, because it's what she picked up on right away, and I'm gonna translate my interpretation of it.
Something that would be totally above board.
Totally above board, not unusual. But the best part of that actually is what he says in the middle, and I'm going to quote it here directly. He says, and I think, referring to Todd Blanche, and I think that he probably wants to make sure that people that should not be involved or aren't involved are not hurt by something. That would be very, very unfortunate and very unfair to a lot of people.
So my interpretation of that is people who aren't involved shouldn't be hurt. So Maxwell has been portraying herself as a victim of Jeffrey since all this went down. And her thing is she is being hurt because Jeffrey died, and there was no way that, he could pay the price of doing a prison sentence and the survivors getting justice. So all that has been leveled on her. So she has been hurt by something that she hasn't done. And I think Trump is reiterating that. He's been saying this a lot and paving the way for her getting out on that basis. So that's what do you think, Lauren?
I think it's more of a riddle. I think it's just watch out to people, because a lot of people, have gone against Trump and smeared his name and, worked against what he wants. So I think he's talking in riddles with it. And regarding the statement of totally above board, as it should be. This is the US government. You know, we know it goes on, these underhand deals, like we know, but to use language like totally above board, I think that's shocking.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he also knows that public trust is rapidly going down in this. And, you know, if we see Ghislaine come out, you're going to get, this is how they'll think, not how I think, because I think she should spend her life behind bars. But they're going to think we need to give them something better. It's like a soap opera. So if you're going to take that character out of the stage, they're going to think, right, the public are going to want to really feel like they've won something. So if she comes out, someone else or other people are going down. 100%.
Exactly. She's got to give up some names that Trump can throw to the public to try and show that he's made progress in this case, to put this fire out that Elon Musk lit almost 2 months ago now, that it's still blazing. I can't imagine these politicians would ever imagine this 5-6-year-old case would just blow up in their faces like this and just run wild and threaten a huge part of the voter base that is now turning upon them.
Also, when it comes to, this is such a good example of the kind of access that elites have that, you know, we don't. When it comes to a pardon, this is the ultimate. It's not what you know, it's who you know, right? And so we know Diddy's lawyers put in a request to Trump's team for a pardon. We know that Damore Hadley's mum, Desiree Perez, had a pardon from Trump. She's the head of Rock Nation, which I'm watching very closely and seeing how that all unfolds. But the whole issue of a pardon, if you're a normal person that has worked your entire life, paying into the system, doing good deeds, and for whatever reason you end up in jail and need a pardon, back of the queue, mate. No, I'm afraid you've got the 1%ers that are going straight up. This is a fact. And it's the, you know, the US people's tax dollars that are paying for this. It's a disgrace.
So we had a few super chat questions come in, and we got from Kim Schurz. Thank you. Ghislaine Maxwell isn't out one of the despicable psychopaths. Can we send them all off planet?
That would be
ideally
amazing.
in an ideal world, yeah. But we're in a corrupt world. Bailey, thank you. Expose them, Shaun. Cheers. And you got a question from Hamamoto. Lauren, do you think that Trump belongs to Israeli intelligence? Well, we've got Ari Ben-Menashe coming on next week.
Interesting question. I've watched a lot of Ryan Dawson on this, and I feel like his investigations are incredible in it. There's something, without a doubt, because Israel is consistently protected by the world's elite. And, you know, we've seen the argument that it's not America first, it's Israel first. I think behind the scenes, without a doubt, yeah, I do. I'm not going to sit on the fence with that. I see no other way for how this has all played out for him not being in close allegiance to them, for sure.
Yeah, well said. I mean, if you look at all of the foreign policy decision making,
yeah,
the government is doing, it's definitely all in favor to that allegiance that you just described. And if you're looking at, you know, what people have been saying about which intelligence agency Epstein was mainly working with and compromising people, that seems to go down the Mossad Israeli route as well. Of course, he had this relationship with Trump for over 10 years, and just on and on and on it goes. But we've got over 1,000 people watching live presently, and I've just got a question for you guys, the viewers. You know, we're starting this series now, Elite Networks series. So would you like to see Lauren running her own show every Saturday evening in this slot? Before I come on, usually I come on at 8. So perhaps Lauren could do a 6 p.m. to a 8 p.m. slot. Put a 1 in the chat if you'd like to see
My
Lauren.
husband wants people to say yes because it means I wear makeup once a week. Otherwise, I've just got my hair in a pineapple.
And then Lauren can have her own guests on, continue to expose whichever elites she wants to in these networks, and have her own guests and subjects. Have a good comprehensive 2-hour show. Maybe have some call-ins towards the ends of it. And we are seeing loads and loads of one. They want to see you as a regular feature, Lauren. Loads.
I think as well, when I talk about
Inundated.
things, I'm always really keen, like to make sure it's rooted in fact. And I've been called a conspiracy theorist before, but I like to get everything rooted in facts and to talk about, you know, what I've seen with my own eyes, what I've heard, what I know to be true. But then, you know, when you're asking me about something like Trump and Israel, I can see the pattern, I can see the evidence. So, you know, what I'm not going to do is I would use my time wisely and make sure you guys know things that I think are important, because the 1%ers have a lot, well, more power than I could possibly explain over your life, my life. And it's unjust because ultimately, you know, we're the people that are working incredibly hard for our children, our families, or, you know, whatever it is. And it's corrupt. And I actually think it's a really exciting time in the world since Elon bought X, and since so many people have left mainstream and actually exposed what's going on. And I would just like to do more of that.
I can't even keep up with all the ones that are coming in, Lauren. So that's you got another viewer question then.
Yeah.
And that is from Agent Orange. Is the manipulation of the economy used as a distraction tool for the masses?
Interesting you brought up an economy question, because there was something I wanted to tell your viewers actually on this. So mainstream media, and this might answer your question. Bear with me, where is it in my notepad? So mainstream media in the UK, if you take in publishing, advertising, radio, TV, it contributes well over 51 billion a year annually to the UK economy.
Wow.
So when you think, okay, everyone you know in the public eye that has questioned official narratives and really gone up against the grain and used their voice, we've seen what's happened to those people. And it actually doesn't matter if you do or don't like people like Katie Hopkins or Andrew Tate or whatever. You just have to look at the pattern of when did things explode for them, and not in a great way. Obviously, Katie Hopkins is now doing incredibly, and I think it's probably the best thing that ever happened to her. But look at what, you know, if the mainstream media folded, could you imagine the damage that would do to our economy? They can't let it fold. So it's about kind of entrapping people in that system. And so, yeah, it is a massive distraction.
Yeah, so the dinosaur media, they're trying to embrace the new media. They're trying to cling on for dear life. But the level of trust in them has just gone down the toilet, hasn't it?
Yeah, I feel like as well, you know, my in-laws, I hate the fact they do this, but they're religious Daily Mail readers. And if you think how much time does that kind of generation, I'm 38, so, you'll work out how old they are, how much time they spend reading that paper. And I thought, I'm starting Spanish lessons and I'm hoping to do kind of 40 minutes of Spanish a day. And I thought, oh, that's what my in-laws probably spend reading the Daily Mail. They're completely indoctrinated with that way of thinking, and that's what they're consuming. And anything, when I said on Dan Wootton's show that people were being brainwashed about Harry and Meghan in the Mail, they couldn't believe it, because that's, for years, decades, that's what they've read.
Yeah, I visit my parents in the Northwest every so many months, and they're always glued to the BBC. And when I watch one of these political
You need to stop
programs,
visiting them then.
you see these people now on TV, and they've got these powdered faces, and they just look so synthetic. It's you see right through them.
Yeah.
It's when you're not watching it all the time and you just you disengage and you just happen to stumble upon it and it just looks so phony, so antiquated. It's like, do people really buy into this BS anymore? This channel that supported Jimmy Savile, Hugh Edwards. Oh, they're supposed to have cleaned house after Jimmy Savile, but no, we've still got Hugh Edwards and God knows who else.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I was developing a documentary with someone, and the production company wanted to take it to the BBC and said, you need to play the game. And I said, first of all, I'd rather not do the documentary than it be on the BBC. And that, like, I maintain that. I would rather do a documentary, and I don't even care if it got viewers or not, but I'd rather put it out myself, because that corporation is so, it's riddled with toxic, cancerous cells, and it needs to close and it needs to be defunded. Absolutely.
Right, we've got about 15 more minutes before Kevin Annette comes in, folks.
15 more minutes before I get arrested. Hit me with your questions.
So if you've got any questions for Lauren or myself on any of the big subjects we've been covering in the series, not just Maxwell, we've covered Diddy, we've covered Starmer, and I think you've got a little to add on Starmer in this episode, don't you?
Yeah, so someone reached out to me on X and they said, it's really weird Piers Morgan hasn't or doesn't really discuss Labour on his show and their failings and the gangs, because I can't say the word on the show. Can you have a look into it? So I said, yeah. So my kids were asleep in the car today in the playground and I was just on my phone. And I thought, oh, I know why. And so we've got this. The Labour Party failed to deny reports the Prime Minister made a secret pre-election deal with News UK not to complete the Leveson inquiry into the conduct of the British press in exchange for an endorsement from Rupert Murdoch's newspapers. So, to put into perspective, Murdoch has spent over $1 billion in settlements and legal costs relating to the phone hacking, which was from 1996 to 2011. So started looking down the rabbit hole. Now, the second part of Leveson, was cancelled by Matt Hancock. And, government and media have been like that. We know that. There's a long track record. Starmer said he's not opening it. And what was it to look into? The relationship between police and the media. So then I looked, Piers Morgan's show. I couldn't find, he blocked me yesterday. It was quite a good day. Yeah, because well, I said on Dan Wootton's show that I think Tommy Robinson is more of a patriot than Piers Morgan, just being factual. And I said, let me read it because it's good to be accurate with these things. So let's find it. I said, so someone said, Piers took a bit of a battering from the fierce Lauren Lunn-Farrow. And I replied, you bet, yeah, he did. I support true patriots like Tommy Robinson over a clickbait goader that edited a national newspaper that hacked people's phones. Piers Morgan edited the Daily Mirror between 1995 and 2004. As editor, Piers Morgan states he never hacked a phone or told anyone else to. I just was being factual, but he blocked me, which I thought was so funny because I didn't even follow him. Anyway, let's not get distracted. So Piers Morgan's show was owned by News UK, Murdoch's company, until January. In January, Piers did a deal to bring it in-house for his own production company. And that was on the 8th of January. And there's a 4-year revenue share deal on the ad revenue. And that's till 2029. So Piers says his show is uncensored, the global arena for fearless debate. Well, it's not really uncensored, is it? If you look at the track record, because very weird, you've got a show that's in the UK that's not looking at the issues that every single other person is screaming from the rooftops about. We are on the cusp of huge rebellion, which is in some ways exciting, but it's also petrifying because we are incredibly angry and we don't know where to direct our anger to. And so then I looked that Starmer has hired David Dinsmore. Okay, David Dinsmore was the COO of News UK. He's been at News UK with Murdoch or News International before for years and years. Look into it. And he is becoming the permanent director of government communications and was personally hired by Starmer. And so there we see the push-pull. The government need the media need the government. And this is a great example of factually looking at something and for you to connect the dots. But in my professional opinion, why would Labour fail to deny a deal had been done if there hasn't?
They're allowed to talk about what David Icke called the postage stamp spectrum of opinion, but the G gangs and all of the other things that you said, the palpable atmosphere in this country, that something is about to happen because of certain government policies. Yeah, they're definitely avoiding that side of things. So Ole Hansen wants to know, is Morgan still a Trump fan?
I think Morgan is what is going to further Morgan's career, in my opinion. I know he's changed his stance on Israel and Palestine and things like that. I think he looks at where the viewers are going. I think he's absolutely focused on his subscribers, which he loves telling people about, and how many Twitter followers he has.
Cynthia wants to know, what can the citizens do to combat the elite system?
I think make sure your eyes are open to it and be, don't think that what you're doing is insignificant. Because it's about opening your eyes and connecting the dots, but also, and I put loads of this on my Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, head over and follow me and you'll see it, because I dismantle media distortion. But don't fall for the clickbait and don't fall for the BS. It's really important, because I think I've had a lot of people message me and say, oh my goodness, since we followed you, we can see this so clearly now, and we're not playing into this game. And I think it's to continuously use your voice. It doesn't matter if you're not on social media or you don't have a big following. Find a way to use your voice, because there are so many women and children that have been failed by this system. And for me, I'm a mother. I'm not having my children failed by this system, so I'm going to speak up about it and hope that things change. But I think I read something once that said, don't ever underestimate the kind of damage you can do in a good way, because we all know how annoying is one mosquito in a room when you're trying to get to sleep. And so one mosquito can do, a lot of damage for sure.
Yeah, I used to wake up in prison, and the fan, in the nighttime, the mosquitoes would come and suck my blood out, and the fan would suck them in. And I'd wake up with all the mosquitoes mangled on the wall and blood splatter all over the wall. So yeah, I know about the damage mosquitoes can do.
I mean, we've got different stories about mosquitoes.
All right, next question is, do you think Epstein is really dead? Now, Candice was not ruling that out. She was saying he might be still out there somewhere. Brian Dawson is adamant, though, that he is dead.
I mean, I would listen to Ryan Dawson on this. This is a man that has researched this for, 20 plus years. I think he is dead. But I also, when it comes to government cover-ups, truly, that there's nothing that wouldn't surprise me now. But my personal opinion is, I think he is dead. I just think he was too much of a risk and had to go.
If Ghislaine killed her father when they were on the ship, Sarah, she wasn't the daughter. Okay, so the yacht was called the Lady Ghislaine after his favorite daughter, because she, we believe, excelled so well in the spy community and was so psychopathic like him. They related the most out of all the siblings. But he wasn't with her on the ship when they died. She came to the ship right away And she gave an interview whereby she said, my father is murdered. He didn't just fall off the deck and drown. So, yeah, they weren't actually on the ship together. There's a book called The Assassination of Robert Maxwell, which Professor Hamamoto recommends. He came to Bath and had dinner with the author. And it is an excellent book that details what they believe happened on that night. But the official narrative is that he just was having a piss off the side of the deck and fell into the water.
This is what really, really annoys me. Do they honestly think we're all... Do they think we're going to buy that? Like, I think they're still using the same playbook for all of us in the public that they did back then. And can someone update the playbook? Because this is absolute insanity. You know, having a wee falling off a yacht.
And a wave came and rocked him overboard.
Yeah, because you really feel waves on yachts. I've been on some yachts. You literally, there's just a kind of a very, very gentle, if any, kind of motion. That's it.
There was no chance it was a tiny little boat with a Mossad frogman. All right, so we've got just over 5 minutes left for final questions, please, for Lauren. I'm gonna, if you missed part one, like I said in the beginning, it's heading for 150,000 views. It's still rising. I'll put the link in the description box. I'll put the link in the live chat, and I'll put all of Lauren's Insta X. Please support her important work. And is there any subjects we've not touched on before we end this one then, Lauren?
Just that how Diddy, it's playing out exactly how I said it would play out. He's still behind bars, and, you know, typical and elite has access to the best legal minds, the best PRs, the best of everything in the business, and they are working around the clock to try and rehabilitate his image for when he comes out. So we've seen lots of narratives about him being a single father. We've seen the lawyers speaking and seeding out different narratives. He's now becoming an anti-domestic violence advocate. And so what you're going to see when he comes out is very, very clear. Everything he did, this is what's happening. It's not my opinion at all. It's just factually what they will do. It will all be blamed on, you know, oh, I had a terrible problem with drugs. It was from my upbringing, child trauma. So what they're going to do is they're going to gaslight you into feeling so awkward when you question the official narrative that that you look bad. You won't look bad. Continue to question the official narrative. But it's all part of the PR playbook, 100%. You're going to see him going to church. You know, you're going to see everything from the redemption playbook.
Got a Diddy question. Are we aware as to whether Diddy used Trump Towers in New York for freak-offs?
I believe so.
Is that where he met the Punisher? Was it sometime in there?
I mean, I just wonder as well. So we didn't hear when it came to the freak-offs about any taking place at his house. What I thought was really weird, why go to hotels where the rooms actually didn't look that amazing or anything? It all seemed very, very strange to me because we know that freak-offs took place at his house. And they, you know, they took place all around the US in different states as well. But I just thought that was so weird.
Yeah, perhaps he had some kind of reason not to tie it to his home, maybe. Didn't want certain people knowing where he lived or something. I don't know. Maybe he had some legal reason.
Maybe the tunnels were being gutted or something.
The tunnels. Yes. All right, next question then from W. Is all this the reason why the authorities have restricted free speech? Restricted free speech? Didn't you see Starmer boasting to Trump?
Yeah.
Oh, Britain's had free speech for millennia. We're proud of our free speech.
Okay, use this as an example. We were never meant to know how all of these systems work. We just weren't. Since Elon has got X, it's really changed the game for people. So if you look at someone, Tommy Robinson's a great example. If you take him and you look at him, they know now he's kind of turning the public. People are turning to support Tommy. And you'll see people like Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe, because they go against the official narrative, they are put on the naughty step and slapped down. And you'll only hear about them in unfavorable ways, or you won't hear from them at all, and they'll be censored and muted. And this is 100% what they've done. The Online Safety Act, what Starmer did to the journalist, and I posted about this as well, he tried to gaslight her and embarrass her in front of a room full of other media and in front of viewers, saying this was about, how do I say the word? That. Children that wanted to take their own lives. It's not about that, actually. It is about putting the earnest back onto the platforms as well. They will be fined so heavily, up to 18 million or 10% of their profits, their annual profits. So obviously what we're seeing is mass censorship across the board. But what you're also seeing from this is massive two-tier policing. So you're seeing someone like Lucy Connolly arrested and put in jail for a tweet. You're seeing Tommy Robinson arrested for posting something on X. But what they haven't thought about is this is then incentivizing thousands and thousands of people who are getting so angry about it to repost as well. They cannot house everyone in a jail. They cannot reprimand everyone. So we either have free speech or we don't. Now, I'm, a huge advocate for free speech. Are there people out there that I don't agree with, that I think say appalling things? Yes, but you either stand for free speech or you don't. And people have to also stop getting offended by shouty words.
Right, we're almost at the hour. So Kevin Annette is about to come in next. Huge thank you to Lauren again for agreeing to do this whole series. So hopefully next week from 6 to 8, we could see you in action for part 3 of this. I'm going to put Lauren's links again in the live chat. You can stalk her on X. You can stalk her on Instagram. And the part 1 episode link is there as well. So when this video ends, folks, it will take you over to our live stream with Kevin. If it does not, the channel icon will be lit up red. Click on the icon, and it'll take you over to the stream with Kevin. Kevin's got some huge news, he said. So is there anything you'd like to say in conclusion, Lauren?
No, just if you give me a follow on all platforms, I would really appreciate it. And I'm not looking for anyone to buy me a coffee. No one needs to subscribe to a Substack. I'm not asking for anyone's money. All I want is people, because the algorithm suppresses my content and I get shadow banned a lot, but I back up every single thing I say with facts and images. So a like and a share would be fantastic.
Absolutely brilliant. And we can't wait to see you next week.
Thank you.
I'm going to run over to Kevin now. So take care wherever you are in the world.